Welcome to this tutorial which aims to explain the mechanic of vehicle combat in Foxhole. The combat mechanics are not very intuitive and this can confuse beginners players. So in this tutorial I will detail the different parameters to take into account in fights with or against vehicles. First of all, the website to visit to find out more about what I'm going to tell you. It's the game's wiki. Be careful to go to wiki.gg. There is another wiki which is no longer updated. I will mainly base myself on this data. Please note that it was written by players and that there may be errors. To begin, we'll take as an example the basic vehicle of Colonial Logistics, the Air1 hauler. The Air1, like all vehicles, it has health points, it has HP. The problem is you can't see them in the game. You can't tell how much HP a vehicle has in this game. It's when you shoot it and repair it with a hammer that you will see the remaining percentage of those hit points. You will need to go to the wiki if you want to know the vehicle's total HP. Here, the Air1 hauler has 900 HP. When the number of HP falls below a certain threshold, different from each vehicle, then it will be disabled. When disabled, the vehicle can no longer move or fire. You have an animation with the appearance of smoke. So for Air1, it must be at less than 81% of each HP, at which point a smoke appears and you can no longer move it. Come back to fix it. To drive your truck again, you will have to raise the vehicle HP above 81%. If you do, you don't need to completely repair the vehicle, just get it over the threshold above which it is disabled. And obviously it is 81% for the Air1 hauler, it's going to be different for another vehicle. Each vehicle has a different threshold. For the moment then, things are simple. I do damage, this removes HP from my vehicle. When a vehicle's HP drops below a certain threshold, well, it's disabled. And finally, if the HP drops to 0, the vehicle explodes, it's destroyed. If every vehicle has health points, then they don't all have the same resistance profile. If here I shoot 7.92mm at the truck, I do the same on the armored car, and I see I don't take the same number of health points from each vehicle. This is because the truck and the armored car do not have the same resistance profiles. There are three different types of vehicle profile. There's actually a fourth one for boats, but I won't go into that here. Going back to my example, I shoot the truck and the armored car with 7.92mm. The 7.92mm is a light kinetic ammunition. It inflicts 60% damage because the truck is unarmored with a light vehicle profile. Conversely, the armored car has a tier 1 tank profile, so it will only receive 1% damage from a light kinetic ammunition, which will be rounded down to -1 HP in the game. And finally, the third type of profile is tier 2 tank. Tier 2 tank is the heavy armor type of resistance. Heavy armor, in fact, it's pretty close to tier 1 tank. It's pretty close to light armor. But what's going to change is the heavy kinetic. The heavy kinetic, the 12.7mm ammunition, where you can see that you're only going to take 1% of the damage. Same thing for this shrapnel. You can see it tanks more with heavy armor. And the application to all of that, at the start of the war, you have armored car and field machine guns. So the armored car fire 7.92mm light kinetic ammunition, which does virtually no damage. So in armored car battles, they shoot at each other, which does virtually no damage, they just get -1 HP every time. On the other hand, the field machine gun shoots 12.7mm, so when it shoots at an armored car, it does 15% damage, whereas the armored car does no damage to the FMG. And once again, if two FMGs shoot at each other, they both shoot 12.7 mm. Just like the armored car, they do no damage to each other. They do -1 HP, so it's very negligible. So if you look at this table, you will see that you have ammunition that are specialized in destroying tanks. In particular, anti-tank ammunition. You have anti-tank kinetic ammunition, of which the only representative is the 20 mm. You've got anti-tank explosive, mines, you've got the flask, you've got stickies, which all are very effective. Anti-tank ammunition takes 100% of the damage, and finally, you've got armor-piercing ammunition, including the 68mm, the AP RPG, the ARC RPG, and the Ignifist. The Ignifist, which also take 100% of the damage, but we'll see that it's not such a good weapon after all. So now we've seen the resistance profiles, but there's still more to come. In Foxhole, there is something called armor. Armor is ultimately a probability of ricocheting a shot. To illustrate this, I'm going to take an example from another game called Company of Heroes, where the animation are more meaningful than in Foxhole. So there are two possibilities: either the shot penetrates the armor and causes damage, or on the contrary, the shot ricochets off the armor. We say it bounces and it does no damage. In Foxhole, the animation is harder to see. Let me show you an example. Here's a shot that bounces, so it doesn't do any damage. Here's a penetrating shot, which will do some damage. Now I'm going to play it 3 times, and you try to pick it out. You also listen and try to memorize the sound. Each vehicle has a different armor with a different probability of penetrating the armor. Note that when the shot penetrates the armor, it will do damage, but it will also reduce the vehicle's armor. When the vehicle's armor drops, you'll notice it visually. The vehicle takes on a damaged appearance. So when you penetrate armor, it is reduced by an amount equal to the damage you inflict. Every vehicle has a baseline probability of penetration, so in this case the truck will have a 70% probability of penetration, but if its armor is also weak, this probability could be higher than 70%, like 80% or 90%. The weaker the armor, the higher the probability of penetration. Finally, the question you may have is, how do I restore the armor? It's not enough to repair it with a hammer and a BMAT. You have to go to the garage, click on this icon, and it costs 100 BMAT, and then you can restore the armor. This is not the only modifier to take into account. The type of ammunition used is also a factor. Some have a penetration multiplier. Finally, the distance from the target and the angle will be important. Try to shoot at 90 degrees from the flank, getting as close as possible. If, on the other hand, you're in a tank, you're in a vehicle, you shouldn't show your flank since the risk of penetration is much greater. On the contrary, you should show the front of your vehicle, facing the enemy, to benefit as much as possible from the probability of having a bounce if you're shot at. In my example, I'm shooting at a Noble Widow NHTD, which has a lot of armor, so we'll have an extremely low penetration probability of 17%. I'm shooting with a Bane, which shoots AP RPG, but has a multiplier effect that multiplies the probability of penetration by 1.5. I stand on the tank's flank, so I'm still relatively far away and the tank's armor is complete. So according to the wiki, I can calculate the probability of penetration, which is 65.5%, As you can see, this is what I've found. 1 shot of 2 penetrated, 1 bounced, 1 penetrated. So there's one more thing I need to talk about, that's subsystems. You may have noticed that the tank I've shot is moving more slowly. It's actually tracked, meaning its tracks are damaged. It moves more slowly. In the game there are 3 subsystems, the tracks, the turret and the fuel tank. When I penetrate the armor at the level of this subsystem, here I fire into the tracks, I have a chance to damage these subsystems. When a tank is tracked, it moves more slowly. When a tank is turret disabled, it can no longer fire its turret. When it is fuel leak, it will lose its fuel very quickly to the point where when it runs out of fuel, it can no longer move. To repair a subsystem, you need to restore the tank's HP to 100%. This tutorial covered the mechanics of combat tanks. You now understand the importance of weapon type and positioning in combat to try to attack from the flank and avoid the bounce. You also understand the importance of targeting subsystems. In general, we target the tracks, but depending on the situation, you can also target the fuel tank or turrets. To judge the effectiveness of anti-tank weapons, I suggest you roughly multiply the damage by the probability of penetration. In this case, the probability of penetration as if firing from the front. So you will see, despite its 1.5 damage multiplier, the effectiveness of the enemy fist will drastically diminish as you enter the late game, facing tanks with high armor levels, since it's much more likely to bounce and to do no damage at all. On the other hand, and I'd like to stress this a little, I told you about this bounce mechanism, but there are weapons that ignore this mechanism and can't bounce, so they inevitably do damage if you manage to hit. This makes them all the more effective against high armor tank, as in the case of stickies, which become extremely powerful against HGD. Of course, these tables should be taken with a critical eye, as not all weapons have the same range, and some will be able to easily perform a flank, so you'll improve your chance of penetration, while for others it will be much harder. That's it for this tutorial, and I hope you've got it right. See you!